Now to Major General Louis McKenzie, who is considered by some to be the most experienced peacekeeper in the world. Dr. Lisa Schirch, she's a conflict transformation and peace-building expert with past work in Iraq and Lebanon, and of course Fox News military analyst, our own Colonel Bill Cowan. Colonel, it's likely to me that in a relatively short period of time there is going to be some effort to strike a ceasefire. Now, what is the goal today of Israel in terms of what they need to accomplish before a ceasefire is put in place?
John, they want to continue to damage the militant arm of Hezbollah as much as they can, and that means they've got to press the attack, whether it be on the ground against Hezbollah fighters or whether it be back in with airstrikes against some of the Hezbollah sites, facilities, get at some of those missiles if Hezbollah gets them out there. But the Israelis are running against a tight clock right now. They know it. They've got to damage Hezbollah as much as they can.
General, let me go to you. And I read with great interest the statements by President Bush and Prime Minister Blair about what we need to get a ceasefire, which is disarm Hezbollah and get the Lebanese army into the southern part of Lebanon. And and I read those conditions and they don't seem very realistic to me. How do we go about being able to secure a ceasefire when we know the parties are going to be fundamentally disagreeing?
Well, you're absolutely right, John, because in order to arrange a ceasefire, you have to negotiate. And the last time I checked, we don't negotiate with terrorists. So it means we're negotiating. Our only possibility is to negotiate with the people who are controlling the terrorists, and that's Syria and Iran, and nobody's lining up to talk to them. What disturbs me is the talk that the UN is going to get involved in this. Now, don't get me wrong. As far as the resolution goes, fine, providing it's a tough resolution, which it rarely is coming out of the Security Council. But the UN shouldn't touch the international force with a 10-foot pole. I mean, shall we remember Croatia, Bosnia, Srebrenica, Somalia, Rwanda, all followed by major apologies from the UN for screwing them up. I mean, it has to be subcontracted to an organization, whether it's NATO, OSCE, or whatever, to put this thing together with some teeth. We just don't go in there asking people to stop.
Lisa, how do people sit down and talk? You're a negotiator. How do you sit down at a table with one of the sides that says, you, the Israelis, the Jews, you have no right to exist? How do you even begin to sit down and talk to them?
Well, history tells us that it's the only way out of a complicated situation like this. It's never easy. There's no simple solutions here. What the Israeli army is doing in southern Lebanon is like taking a hammer to a beehive. It's actually making the situation worse. And reports from the ground are saying that Hezbollah has gained supporters. It's gaining support across the Arab world. And it's actually in Israel's interest to sit down and negotiate, not on its survival. Of course, Israel's going to survive, and the international community is going to stand by it. But we have to try to address the root causes on all sides. All sides have grievances here, and negotiation is the only way to stop this insanity in the Middle East.
Well, it's going to be a very difficult thing. You know, Lisa, I've been involved in a lot of negotiations, nothing like this, but negotiations with people, including the President of the United States. If there isn't a common purpose, it's awfully hard to sit down and do a compromise. But my ears are open and I hear what you say. I hope you will all stand by. We're going to come back to you. Coming right up is a $50 million bail enough? We're going to go live to the spot. Welcome back to the special Middle East edition of Heartland. As the world leaders try to keep a handle on the violence erupting between Israel and the Hezbollah, Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice is once again in the region. Even the Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah acknowledged her presence. We continue with General McKenzie, Lisa Schirch, and Colonel Cowan. Oh, we're going to go to, folks, we have breaking news. We're going to go to Jennifer Griffin, who, as you know, is on the Israeli-Lebanese border. Jennifer, what have you got?
Well, John, we were talking about how Israeli troops pulled out just a little while ago from Bint Jubail. What I can tell you now is all this artillery fire that you hear in
breaking news. Appreciate you being with us. We continue with General McKenzie, Lisa Schirch, and Colonel Cowan. Colonel Cowan, you know, the thing that worries me about this is the weapons become more sophisticated. The legs of these missiles are longer and longer. The payloads are more and more powerful. So we are where we are today, which is probably manageable despite the fact, you know, it's a horrible thing where people can be killed. But you think 5, 10 years down the road, the lethality, the accuracy, I mean, really a problem. How are you going to ever stop this?
You got to go to the source, John. You know, you're absolutely right. And perhaps Nasrallah has some weapons up his sleeve he hasn't used yet, when he starts talking about some more of the long-range stuff, we may see something land on Tel Aviv. You got to go to the source. Hezbollah is not making those rockets themselves, as you know. It's over to North Korea, technology from Russia, all these things going to Iran, Iran moving it to Syria, Syria moving it to Hezbollah. It's a network of international arms dealers that the U.S. and the international community needs to close down before states like that get the kinds of things, or groups get the kinds of things
Colonel,
that can wreak havoc globally.
one more question quickly, because I want to bring the other two in. This is a religious war more than a secular war. In the old days, the Egyptians, the Jordanians, and even the Syrians were worried about land. Now this is about religion.
Absolutely, John. We are fighting Islamofascism. Fortunately, it's a small percentage of the population out there. It doesn't represent all Muslims, but we have to be concerned
how many more
Muslims find reason to be part of it.
We're going to have to turn them. General, what does the force look like? What does an international force? Describe it for us quickly. Who should it be? What will their power be? How will they protect themselves?
Well, provided it's not with the UN, which would put their hands behind their back with handcuffs, it is best to subcontract to a military organization that then can bring its people on board, as opposed to going around and trying to gather up individual countries. So there's not going to be a long line of people volunteering.
Now, General, you were in Sarajevo, where they had snipers on the top of a hill killing people when they put their heads out of their homes. That was a NATO force. That's not likely here. So what do you think it looks like?
No, that was a UN force when I was there, and it was NATO that actually rescued the mission, because they came in with some teeth and armor, etc. This would be, I would say, 25 to 30,000, organized probably 2 to 3 divisions with heavy equipment and with a mandate to use deadly force, particularly to carry out Resolution 1559 of the UN, which says Hezbollah must disarm.
All right.
Because I must say I give credit to the negotiation desire, but when you have an objective of an organization whose only objective is the destruction of the state of Israel, it's a little hard to negotiate.
All right, Lisa, the state of the refugees, will there be a path for them to get out? And how long does it take them to recover from all this?
The U.S. needs to work in partnership with the international community on this question, John. And I really want to see us working more with Europe and more with the international community at large. I feel like we're just over there talking with Israel, and we're not really engaged with the rest of the world on this issue.
Look, I wish I had an hour here to do all this. I want to thank you all. You're all very, very informative. Thanks for being with us. And coming up, folks, you don't want to miss this. We're going to talk to a woman who risked her life to speak out against Muslim extremism.